For teaching about the Carlisle School, we have provided 3 lesson plans meant to take a total of 3 class periods. They're built around a lesson from the Stanford History Education Group, which provides excellent primary documents and questions to get students thinking. A link to that lesson is provided as the second lesson in this trio. The first lesson expands on the photographs provided by the Stanford lesson by turning them into a photo gallery walk activity. An important piece of teaching and learning difficult history is using photographs and videos, when possible, to drive home the reality of the situation for students. That these were real people, living real lives, not simply abstract characters in a textbook. The photographs included in the lesson are meant to provide a visual representation of the major themes, particularly assimilation and the military nature of the school. Work with your students to engage their historical empathy by helping them to put into words how the images make them feel. The graphic organizer accompanying the photo exercise will ask students to take a macro view at the emotions drawn out by these images, then take a micro view looking for details that connect to the purpose of this school. It is important to note that research on teaching difficult history shows that students will often over-identify with subjects and photographs and potentially feel very strong emotions. Often, students will then distance themselves from the history to protect their emotions and potentially downplay the suffering of victims in the images. The goal is to help students understand these emotions and move through them and pass them to a point where they can balance their empathy and their analysis. The primary document lesson from SHEG gives students a glimpse into the formation of the school, the opinions of its founder, and 2 testimonies from students about life at the school. If you already did the photo gallery lesson we talked about, you can skip the PowerPoint, as your students already have this background knowledge. You can move straight into document analysis. Please give your students a warning before diving into the documents that they use language to talk about Native Americans that would be completely unacceptable today, but that it is important to acknowledge the attitudes people had about Native Americans at the time. Particularly with Pratt's "Kill the Indian, Save the Man" speech, be cognizant of your students' emotions and perhaps offer the option to take a quick walk in the hallway if it becomes too much. Be aware of the makeup of your unique class. If you have Native American students, be particularly aware of how these lessons may affect them. The final lesson in this mini-unit is a small project to write a letter to a stakeholder in the fight to repatriate the remains of students buried at the Carlisle School. This fight made it into the news in the last few years as media pressure eventually helped get concessions from the U.S. Army, and bodies are now being repatriated. Your students will read a news article about this controversy and place themselves back in the time this was happening and think about who they would have liked to direct a letter to. Likely options will be writing to the U.S. Army War College or to tribes involved in the fight. Other options students might come up with, or you could suggest, will be writing an open letter to your school community to let people know about the Carlisle School. Writing to students at Dickinson College, also located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, to make them more aware and perhaps create more local interest in helping the tribes. Or perhaps they'd like to write some sort of tribute to one or more of the students who died at the school. Well, you now have the knowledge and tools to engage your students in a great learning experience about the Carlisle Indian Industrial School. Have fun and good luck.